At the beginning of every business year, large organizations set KPIs, key performance areas for their employees, targets that they have to achieve. And at the end of every year, they have conversations with these employees to decide how they performed in these key performance areas. And the KPIs for these large organizations, marketing teams, was to make customers buy what their factories were producing. And they, in turn, would set KPIs for their advertising agencies, public relations professionals, and other people in the media industry, creative people who would then craft messages that would make customers buy products from their brand instead of from others. An M brand, an organization that I set up, would step in when customers didn't do what they were told. They didn't either listen to or believe messages that were crafted by advertising agencies, the sales teams, etc. And step one for us in such situations was observational research. Go to where the customers lived and used these products, having conversations to understand how they perceived the performance of the products that they brought from a client's brand or from competing brands after having used them for some time. Years of such observational research gave us a statistically valid sample, a large enough data set, and analyzing this data told us that consumers have their own KPIs, key performance areas, of the products that they buy from some brand for which promises have been made by the marketing team performed well enough to justify the price that they had paid for it. And 6 of these KPIs seem to be the most critical when they decide whether they would buy more products from the same brand or start buying from some other brand. Most products made by East Asian nations, first Japan, then Taiwan, Korea, China, and now even Vietnam, scored very highly on 3 of these KPIs, which are about utilitarian factors such as durability, longevity, reliability, etc. The boring stuff. And despite performing extremely well on these 3 KPIs, they fetched lower prices from consumers. Which brands from these nations didn't mind? Because one of the hallmarks of their culture is frugality, doing more with less. And coming to the quality and reliability, another facet of their culture holds, which is pride of workmanship. Failure of something they make is taken as a personal failure. Bottom line, these nations excel at mass manufacturing products of extremely high quality at extremely low prices. In fact, the first of the East Asian nations to industrialize and learn mass manufacturing was Japan. And it attained standards of quality that made even Steve Jobs, when he was considering making Apple's laptops, requested Sony to manufacture them in their factories. And later, when China learned how to do the same thing, to make Apple's iPhones in China as well. And coming to the other 3 KPIs, Western brands, mainly from USA and Europe, customers rated them extremely highly because these are about social image in their culture. In other words, what you buy and are seen to be using determines who you are in your community. So consumers are willing to pay an extremely high price for these products which bear the badges of these Western brands. And Western brands are extremely good at crafting their stories, their messaging around this reality. And whenever they felt threatened by the more utilitarian brands of East Asian nations, use this media by getting their PR teams and sometimes journalists to craft stories that suggested or insinuated that the low price of East Asian nations' brands connoted poor quality. While Japanese and Korean cultures are humble and very polite, they did not allow their brands to rise to this bait. But Donald Trump's tariff wars, which have singled out China, have caused it to respond in kind by using the West's own social media influencers to craft news stories, such as this one, which has gone viral on TikTok.
The big lie Western luxury brands have sold us is that China equals low quality. But that's outdated. Chinese factories today produce world-class leather goods. They have materials, the skills, and the machines. In fact, many luxury brands manufacture their products in the same factories as mid-range brands. And so when someone tells you a bag is made in China, it doesn't mean it's trash. It just might be better than whatever was made in France. The cost to actually make a Birkin bag is around $600, not $14,000, not $38,000, $600. Resale prices are starting to dip. Prices are dipping and dipping fast. Why would anybody still pay full price? People are scared, resellers are sweating, and this couldn't have come at a worse time for them, because ever since the US cracked down with those aggressive tariffs against Chinese imports, global brands have been forced to show their hand. And guess what? Hermes is one of the brands that might get hit the hardest.
So there you have it. China's tit for tat on TikTok, probably on a made in China smartphone. I'm not sure how the KPIs of consumers who've been loyal to European brands and to some extent American ones will change if such stories continue. But if they do, European brands will definitely have to change the KPIs of their storytellers, their marketing teams. KPIs of lower and middle income Indian consumers changed very quickly when Chinese brands, especially those in consumer electronics and home appliances, entered India's market. And our latest research shows that KPIs of even India's more affluent customers are also changing when buying what's trending in their social circle today, electric cars. And it is exactly in such situations that Embrand has stepped in to create award-winning KPIs for consumers of our clients in India, Europe, Southeast Asia, across a range of products and services, such as cardiac care, tractors, scientifically guided weight loss, gensets, airlines, automobiles, and pharmaceuticals. And since Embrand's observational research for these took a long time, and still does, we came up with the idea of Embrand's 2-day workshop. Instead of our research, we get your marketing teams to think about how their customers today would rank your brand along each of the 6 KPIs that I just mentioned. Take a judgment call. And on day 2, we create a threat scenario, such as the one that's overtaken European brands today. And then to imagine how they would improve each of the 6 KPIs of their customers to overcome such a challenge. And the outcome is the speed of response of your marketing team, a plan B, just in case this threat became a reality. If that sounds like a good idea for your business, do write to us at globalise@mbrand.in, links below. Give us a brief description of your business, the products you make, and the problems that you want to solve. And we'll take it from there.